Lachelle, I think we can start whenever you're ready, and a reminder to people that we're taking questions in the chat.
We are taking questions in the chat, and we are also recording, and we are live on Facebook. And we'll hand it over to our wonderful president of Fort Worth Housing Solutions, Mayor Margaret.
Well, good morning, friends. I'm so glad to see so many participants on the call this morning, or I guess it's noon now, so afternoon. Depending on where you are, I bet Lou Bernardi may be still morning over in Los Angeles. But anyway, we're really excited to share with you the progress we've made on the Stop Sick Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant. Thus far, I know that our team has tons of information to share, so I don't want to take up too much time. But I just want to mention that we really appreciate all of our partners who have made this possible. You know, about a year and a half ago, it was a dream, and a year ago, it became a reality when we won the grant. But the people that are putting in the hard work every day, including our friends at the city, folks over at Fort Worth ISD, Fort Worth Police Department. I mean, these are our partners that are really on the streets with us every day making this happen. And of course, we couldn't do it without our grant partners, McCormick Beer and Salazar on the development team and urban strategies on the people lead. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Lachelle, and I'm looking forward to all the information and seeing what kind of questions we get.
So good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Margaret. We have a full agenda today, and we have some special appearances that will take place on today. And as Mayor Margaret says, thank you all for joining us, especially our residents and community members. And so we'll go ahead and get started with our housing update, and the Louis Bernardi from McCormick Bear Salazar will go ahead and give us a housing update.
Thank you, Lachelle. Appreciate that. And actually coming live to you from San Antonio today. So happy to be back in Texas. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be with all of you today. And I'm glad so many of you have been able to join us today. I'm really pleased to report that we've made some significant progress since our last community update. And like Mary Margaret, I really would like to thank all of our team members who are on the call today, those that couldn't make it today, as well as our partners and members of the community for all the work that they've done and the work that we're going to continue to do as we move forward with our development work in the coming weeks and months. I'll begin with Cowan Place Senior Living Development that will be construction in the corner of Rosedale and Stahl Cup. You might want to go to the next slide, please, Christian. What you see on the slide on the screen is not Cowan Place, but it does give you a sense of a reminder of what our development concept is for the Campbell site redevelopment. What you're seeing now is actually a concept for our first phase that will be called Use House at Rosedale and Amanda, but I'll come back to that later on. So before I get into the community branding for Cowan Place, I just wanted to let you know that our design work for Cowan Place Senior Living is complete, and we're working with the city to obtain the permits that we'll need to commence construction. We're in the latter stages of our confirming all of our financing plan elements, the related legal documents that we'll need to secure final approvals from our investor partner and lenders in order to close the transaction in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Our expectation is that we'll be able to close the transaction late July and have all of our approvals in hand to commence construction early August. With respect to the slide you see on community branding, we have worked, I think, very hard over the last several weeks with Fort Worth Housing Solutions with members of the community to get input, gather input for concepts and ideas to establish branding and logos for each of our new developments. Beginning with Cowan Place, the team selected the primary logo that you see on the screen. Cowan Place Senior Living at Stop 6 is our primary logo, as you can see and hopefully appreciate. There's a lot of thoughtful consideration for and a commitment to embracing the history of the Stop 6 community, while at the same time trying to create a brand and a logo for Cowan Place that would that really complements the modern architectural style and design of the building. Just in terms of the work that went into the logo and the branding, again, it's a rather simplistic but really nice modern look. Again, that complements the architecture. The adding the interurban car again addresses, we think the roots of Stop 6 community. We think the brightness of the colors also is engaging and will really help the development with its branding and its marketing material as we go forward, and our continued communication with the community about the project. So hope you like it, and look forward to hearing what folks think about it. Next slide, please. So just to give an update on where we are with Cowan Place, as far as our construction plan, our contractor block companies completed their subcontractor vendor supplier selections in May, notified bidders, successful and unsuccessful bidders in June, held a debriefing session with companies that were interested in hearing about that process on the 22nd of June. And in addition, over the course of the last several weeks, Block has met individually with companies who are interested in learning more about the outcome of their bids, why they were not selected, and hopefully we're able to obtain information that will help them as they look at other opportunities that we'll be coming up with our following phases and our subsequent phases of development. So we're looking forward to folks being able to look at opportunities that are coming up for our next phases, and hopefully be able to participate in subcontracting and business opportunities there. Block also participated in the job fair at Tarrant College. Over the last several weeks, there'll be another job fair that Block will hold specifically for the Cowan Place development, where companies, including Block, will be looking to employ individuals. There'll be opportunities for Section 3 hires there, so please be on the lookout for that. And please, if you're interested in employment opportunity, please check that out. Again, we hope to close our deal with everyone by the end of July, and have a groundbreaking event August to early September. Next slide, please. So our next phase of development will occur on the Campbell public housing site, the former Campbell public housing site, which I'm sure you all see it's been cleared and structures demolished, and site is getting ready for development. As you know, we've talked about this before in previous updates. There are 6 phases in total that are planned under the Choice Neighborhood Implementation Plan. We're working with our development team and our partners on the second phase, which is Use House. The slide you see on the screen now. Use House will be developed on the former public housing site along Rosedale, south of Rosedale at Amanda. It will consist of 210 new apartments, different types of residential buildings, some mixed use. It'll be a mixed income development, affordable as well as market rate, and will include approximately 12,000 square feet of commercial space. You all also will remember that the site and development on Campbell has been named Use House in honor of famed Dunbar High School coach, Robert Hughes Sr. And we look forward to working with family and the branding for that new development with our partners. Our site planning and design work is ongoing. The next slide, what you see on this slide, I should say, is a concept, a rendering for one of the interior streets that really shows some townhome style buildings. Next slide, please. And what you see in front of you here now is a site plan for the second phase use house. As you can see along Rosedale, there are mixed use buildings that are contemplated. Not sure if we've lost the screen or not. My screen just went blank. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Where we are in the process, before I get into the process, what you see on the site plan, again, is a combination of different building types, mixed use along Rosedale and along Amanda. And then as we get into the interior of the neighborhood, the next block is a combination of townhomes and garden walk-up buildings. We're again in the process of refining our site plan. Things may move around a little bit. We're working to make sure that the next two phases that occur on the Campbell site will work very well with this first phase. And so we're looking at different things like the location of the management office and amenities on the site to make sure that all is coordinated and will work well when we're finished the complete development on the Campbell site. For Hughes House, we're anticipating an award of tax credits next month, which is a great step for us. And be able to close the transaction about this time next year with all of our plans completed, permits approved, and all of our financing in place, and start construction at that point and be able to complete the development by the end of 2023. And we'll be pre-leasing, of course, prior to that and completing the leasing afterwards. So we're looking very much forward to getting that project going while we're underway at Cowan Place. Next slide, please.
Lachelle, there's a couple of questions.
Yeah. Lou, we have a couple of questions.
Sure.
I don't know if we have this information as of yet, because I know Hughes House is still under the design phase. So from Marilyn Davis, the question is, what is the unit square feet for Hughes House, as well as the garden home style, the square footage of that?
Yeah, the square footage of units will range because there are 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and 4 bedroom apartments in different building types. So, I mean, that's certainly information we can provide and to folks as we get closer to refining the site plan and building unit layouts. The garden apartments are 3-story walk-up buildings that will contain 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments. The townhomes will also be 3 bedroom, and there'll be some 4 bedrooms. So we'll provide that information for you in a matrix that we can share with the community.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Again, my last piece here, maybe working with Lachelle and others at Fort Worth Housing Solutions, is that we'll have other phases. What we're defining as phases 5 and 6, later on, and we'll be wanting to get some input from the community about branding and naming for those new developments. So there's survey information you see on the slide, and that will be available for folks to submit their ideas, thoughts, and suggestions for the renaming opportunities for those future developments. So with that, I am done with my portion of the presentation, and certainly welcome any questions you have for me at this time.
All right, so no questions, no other questions. Now we will pass it on. I would like to introduce the regional vice president, one of my faves, Alicia Leonard, who is part of the people portion of the grant. So Alicia, you can take it away just to give us we want to an update, an annual update regarding my favorite part of this particular grant, the people part.
Thanks, Lachelle. And it's great to be with all of you this afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to share some updates and some highlights from the first full year of implementation of our people strategy on this project. And so we began outreach to former Campbell Place residents with members of our national team back in June as we got our local team in place. And we're really pleased that a year in, we've got 98% of former Campbell Place households engaged in the people strategy through our family support team. And launching this work during a pandemic has definitely been a unique experience, brought together with some unique challenges. And, I really give a lot of credit to our local team led by Mr. Simeon Henderson, as well as our partners over at Fort Worth Housing Solutions, and then our just tremendous community partners throughout Tarrant County that have really been, leaning into how we can wrap our arms around the former Campbell residents as they've relocated throughout Tarrant County, and how to really support them through not just this pandemic, but as we kick off this project in this first year. And so we've utilized a wide variety of strategies, from everything from some in-person activities. We've got a couple of photos to just highlight some of the different things we've tried throughout the year, as well as some virtual events, and even some hybrid things where we had some folks that felt comfortable coming in person, others that wanted to join online. So really try to maximize participation and effectiveness, and really getting the word out to families around what are the opportunities to connect to. And so we're going to continue to innovate and to connect with families on what is the best way to keep in contact and to keep engaged with them as we move into this kind of next year of our strategy. And we've got some really fun events, trying to take advantage of this great, Texas summer weather to get outside and do some fun family events. So we've got a day at the zoo plan coming up here on July 9th. We've also got a couple ice cream socials planned to, out in the apartment complexes where we have clusters of families living, and just trying to continue to be present and to be visible, and to be able to connect with families. We also just recently received an amazing contribution that I'm excited to share with you all today from Facebook, the Facebook data center in Fort Worth, a contribution of $45,000, which will be used to provide, to purchase Chromebooks for our households, to make sure that every single household has access to a computer device to be able to connect virtually, not just to our family support team, but to all the wonderful virtual options that are now available for things like adult education, job training, tutoring for kids. We know those things aren't going away with COVID. And so we want to make sure that our families have access and are able to take advantage of those. And so we look forward to taking this big step in closing our digital divide for families. And we can go on to the next slide, Kristen. Thank you. So as an update on our economic mobility strategy, in this first year, we've seen 25 residents obtain employment, which we're excited about. 18 of those residents have actually gone into employment opportunities working over 30 hours a week. And we're going to continue to just impress upon residents the opportunities to gain additional skills, to do job training, so that those job opportunities can really become career opportunities as we move forward. Throughout this first year, we also saw 2 residents launch their own business, which is an amazing opportunity for each of them. One has launched a cleaning company that came through a Section 3 opportunity working on the demolition of Campbell Place. And then another actually just has been working on launching her notary business as well. And so some highlights from the last quarter, just to share with you all. You see a picture there of a participant at the Dress for Success event that we supported with Fort Worth Housing Solutions, as well as the Envision Center, and then Goodwill Industries, as a way to Dress for Success clothing drive, as a way to support residents with the professional attire that they would need for interviews, as well as uniforms and things of that nature. And last week, we also, the job fair that you heard Lou speak about, our team was able to support in that event as well, and making sure that our residents were connected to the job opportunities that were presented at that drive-through job fair with Tarrant County College and block companies. And we're going to continue to creatively work on how we can bring the opportunities for employment in a variety of sectors beyond just construction into the residents as well. There's some opportunities with TCC that we're looking to advance in July around some healthcare sector employment opportunities and some training that will be available for residents to connect to virtually to pursue things such as CNA, as well as phlebotomy and EKG. And we can go on to the next slide. Thank you, Kristen. And so turning our attention to health and wellness, we have been able to support a number of residents with their health needs, including connecting 39 of our residents with either physical health or dental care services that were needs for them throughout this last year. We also worked with 9 of our residents to connect to appropriate mental health services to meet their needs as well. And in addition, 21 residents have started to participate in some kind of wellness or health education program, with several of those connecting through the YMCA and a couple other of our community partners. We've got a couple photos from some events from this last quarter as well. One included a bike giveaway event that was held over at the William M. McDonald YMCA, where refurbished bikes were distributed to the community, and 20 of our former Campbell residents were able to come and receive bikes that day for their children and themselves, which was a lot of fun. A lot of happy kiddos came away from that event with sporting some new wheels, so that's exciting. And our local team also partnered recently with the African American Men's Health Expo, where they distributed over 350 boxes of food to the Stop 6 community, shared resources. There were COVID vaccinations that were happening that day as well. And several of our Campbell residents also received food either at that event, or we were able to connect that to them if they weren't able to actually come in person to that event. So we've been trying to creatively work through those barriers to transportation and getting access to some of the opportunities that are available to the families. And then go on to education. Last but certainly not least, a quick update on our education strategy. So over this year, as we all know, COVID's had a huge impact on the education experience that our children and youth have experienced. And so we continue to really try to meet residents where they're at, meet the kids where they're at, whether that be in the community, at the schools, just really trying to form those solid relationships and understand what our kids need when we think about their educational success. So over this past quarter, we've really been focused on a couple things in particular, one being enrollment into early learning programs and pre-K ahead of the next school year. And so back in April, we partnered with some of our community partners, including Child Care Associates, My Health, My Resources, Help Me Grow, Cook Children's, the Fort Worth Library, as well as the YMCA, to hold an early learning roundup. And at that event, several of our Campbell residents were able to actually complete enrollment packets, to get connected to developmental screenings, learn about resources, some of the dual generational learning programs that the library has to offer, and get really connected with a lot of great resources for our kiddos birth to 5, which was a great event. And we've also really been focused on summer camp opportunities over the last few months, heading into these summer months, and making sure that our kids are connected to opportunities to continue their learning and stay engaged, keep their minds engaged over the summer months as we head towards the next school year. And so to date, we've got 31 kids have been able to be enrolled into summer programs, particularly with partners at the YMCA, as well as Boys and Girls Clubs activities, as well as AB Christian Learning Center. And we also have been promoting Fort Worth ISD's summer school opportunity, summer learning program as well. We recently had a summer expo to highlight some of these summer camp opportunities, as well as just an opportunity for families to come together to reconnect. And we were able to also celebrate some of our high school graduates at that event. And I've got a couple pictures of a few of our graduates with some little care packages we put together for them to honor that success. We're excited that 5 of the 6 former Campbell resident seniors graduated on time. And our one senior that has not quite graduated yet has a plan to complete their GED in the fall that we're supporting them on. And we're excited that of those seniors, 3 of them are pursuing college in the fall as well. And so we're helping to support that transition for them as they head into that next step in their education journey. And then we're working with the other seniors that have graduated to connect into some workforce opportunities. One's pursuing a paid internship right now, which we're excited and hope that will lead to some additional career opportunities for them as well after this summer internship is complete. And so we're continuing to make great progress with our partners. A huge shout out and thank you to all of our community partners that are on this update. This work truly could not be done without everyone's collective contribution to really support and help to advance the Campbell residents of this project. So thank you all so much. I'm glad to take any questions.
So Alicia, we do have a question from Dr. Gwen Morrison. And it's kind of a loaded question, so we may have to email her back this information. It said, how many of the residents are engaged in learning opportunities with TCC and other learning institutions for self-development opportunities, training, certifications, and degrees? And so again, I know we have this data. I don't know if we have that right offhand, but we definitely could get back with her if we need to, but I'll pass that over. And then we have a question from Jonathan Morrison. Said, can we basically loop in those 6 seniors with the Envision Center and regarding the Section 3? So I know, Jonathan, you have Simeon Henderson's information, and you guys can work closely together to get that, to make that happen. So then I'll pass that question back to you, and you can just tell us how you would like for us to proceed.
Yes, definitely. We absolutely could pull those specific breakdowns of participation in TCC's many wonderful programs to get that over to you, Dr. Morrison, for sure. That is definitely something that we keep track of and continue to update. And I'd be happy to follow back up in an email with that detailed information. I just don't want to give you the wrong numbers off the top of my head right now, for sure. For sure.
All right. So now, thank you, Alicia, so much for all of that great update. Now we'll move on to some great information. I want to introduce Ms. Arista McGowan, and she is stepping in for someone else that's with ISD, but she's going to give us some great information regarding J. Martin JK Middle School, and then she will then pass it over to Mr. Larry Davis, and he can give us some information regarding Family Leadership Academy. So Ms. McGowan, go ahead and take it away for us.
So good afternoon. As Lachelle said, my name is Arista Owens McGowan, and I am an Executive Director in the Office of Innovation in Fort Worth ISD. So I was just coming to give you a little bit of information about the new partnership that the district has with Phelan Leadership Academies with JK Middle School. And so I'm not going to go through all the slides. This is just some information that we typically kind of have on hand so that the community can kind of see how it all started and how we got to the point of where we are now. This whole venture started back in June of last year, of 2020, where the Office of Innovation sets out to put out what's called a call for great schools. The district is a member of the Systems of Great Schools, and where districts have been given the opportunity to work with other outside entities to try to bring some academic improvement to some of the schools. So where it used to be where districts just had to do it all on their own, I think the state realized that, you know, it's okay for districts to get assistance from other educational organizations. And so That's where Senate Bill 1882 was created to give districts that option. So starting back all the way in June 2020, we put out a call for educational organizations that could help us with turnaround of some of our schools that just hadn't been doing well academically. Jack A wasn't the only school that we were looking at, but we knew that Jack A being in the Stop 6 area with that rich culture, we needed to make sure that we were looking at the school to try to help the students, the staff, and that community. We wanted to get Jack A back to where it had been. I'm a product of Fort Worth ISD myself. I'm a product of Stop 6, and I actually went to Jack A Middle School when it was Dunbar Middle School. And so we know how important it is for us to ensure that our students on the East Side are getting the same quality of education as students in the other parts of Fort Worth. So when we talked about the Jack A Middle School initiative, the district looked at improvement, innovation, and investment. And that's what you're seeing on your screen right now. As I said, Jack A was one of the schools that was improvement required with Texas Education Agency. And so the district knew that they had to take some steps to help the school academically. And so through innovation, the Office of Innovation, we know that Fort Worth needed to take bold actions, as I said, to revitalize the school's academic performance. And we know that that's going to always take some investment, whether it's monetary or someone's time, someone's like I said, just time and money. It was going to take that to help the school turn around. You can go to the next slide, please. So when we had about 8 organizations that wanted to be a part of this initiative. Through a whole process that we go through in the Office of Innovation, we got it down to about 4 organizations. And then when it was all said and done, we decided to go with Phelan Leadership Academies because their mission for students was so closely aligned to what the district mission is for our students here in the district. And so our goals for the school and for this partnership was to deliver immediate and targeted support. We know something needs to happen now. And we wanted to go in an organization that had a plan or a model that was going to be able to jump right in and start working on those targets that were needed, creating positive outcomes for students and addressing challenges that were standing in the way of student success. And again, another reason why the district chose to partner with Phelan Academy. You can go to the next slide. And so what we wanted to do, many of you on here probably are aware of the district's first partnership, which is with the Texas Wesleyan University and a group of schools. It's called the Leadership Academy Network. The Leadership Academy Network had already been formed before we actually started the partnership with Texas Wesleyan. But through that partnership, we saw how great things have been happening for those schools. It started with 5, now they actually have 6 schools in that network. And that's all through this Senate Bill 1882 partnerships. And so the district wanted to follow that success and continue with another partnership with Jack A Middle School. And again, that's how we ended up partnering with Phelan Leadership Academies. All of it works together. It's not just one organization that's going to make it happen. And so what you see on your screen is pretty much saying through the partnerships of the district, TEA, Phelan, and our philanthropic community, we were able to get this partnership approved through our board of trustees. And come August of this year, Phelan Leadership Academy will be managing the campus of Jack A Middle School. You can go to the next slide. And so again, I won't go through all of this. It's kind of what I've been talking about. All this is possible through Senate Bill 1882, which is called the Texas Partnership Opportunity, that gives school districts the autonomy to work with educational organizations to help with some of our schools that aren't doing the best academically, to improve on that success of students, expand choice for families. You know, when you have some failing schools, a lot of times, of course, parents want what's best for their students and they'll send them to other campuses. We want Jack A to have that rich instructional status again, and that, like I said, it's in a rich community of Stop 6. And we want students to come back. We want students in the neighborhood to come back to their schools. You know, of course, parents still always have a choice to send their kids wherever they want to, but we don't want it to be because the school in your neighborhood is not a good school. And so that's, again, why the district has made this bold choice of working with Phelan Leadership Academy. And you can go to the next slide. So I believe this slide says, what does it mean for the community? Well, we know Mr. Jacquet. He served the district for 37 years. He had been the principal at Dunbar High School. And so we know that he leaves a rich legacy. And so the one thing that we did also like about Phelan Leadership Academies is that you know, they weren't even concerned with having their name on the building. They said the school is named after Mr. Jacquet, and that's how it needs to stay. We want to come in and we want to help the students. We want to help the staff. We want to help the community. We're going to come in and do what we need to do to change the trajectory of this campus. We don't need our name on the school. It will remain Jacquet Middle School. And so again, that was something about this organization that attracted them to the district, that, you know, they were about the business of educating kids, and they were about the business of ensuring that students are going to be successful. And so we just look forward to what they have planned in moving into this next school year. And so what I'm going to do at this time, I think my next slide just gives you some information if you wanted to reach out to someone in the district, but then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Larry Davis. But if you do have any further questions, concerns, and you just need some things answered, you can reach out to Dr. David Sines. He's our Chief of Innovation in the district. His email address and number is there, and we'd be more than happy to answer your questions, and just whatever you need from the district, we'll be able to get that information for you. So thank you so much, Lachelle. That is the end of what I had.
Thank you, and we'll pass it on to Mr. Davis.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you, Ms. Owen McGowan, for speaking so eloquently on this partnership and what has been taking place at Jacquet Middle School. Well, I'm Larry Davis, and I am with Phelan Leadership Academies, but I want to share something with you. One of the things that Mr. Earl Martin Phelan wanted to do was ensure that whoever he brought in to oversee Jacquet Middle School knew the area, was from the area. So I am from Fort Worth. I'm a graduate of Fort Worth ISD. I went to M.M. Walton when it was Rosedale Park, and Miss Walton was actually my principal, and I really like saying that. And when I was a young kid, I didn't like saying it, but as an adult, I really enjoy saying that. I went to Sunrise Elementary, and I went to Dunbar Middle School when it was over Willie Street, excuse me. So I know the community, grew up in the community. I, again, lived in Eastwood. Grandmother lived on Stalcup and Berry. And again, we walked those streets as a child, as a kid, all the time. And one thing I remember is the history and the culture of that community. Our teachers loved us, our schools, we had so much school pride. And you wonder now, how did it get to this point? Because the community still has so much pride in those schools. So we want to make sure that we bring that pride back. And like Ms. Owen McGowan said, it was so important that we didn't touch that Jacquet name, that we didn't change anything, that community could still identify with that school building. So here's a little bit about Phelan. We have 25 different campuses in 7 different states. We have schools in Beaumont, Texas. So we're not just from out of the state. We've been in Texas for the last 3 years in Beaumont, Texas. And we took over 2 Phelan schools there in Beaumont, and those schools are thriving right now. We will offer our scholars an enriched curriculum, but also we'll give them those tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 interventions that will exceed the expectations. We know that, and some of you may not know, but TEA just passed House Bill 4545, which talks about every student getting remediation, getting this extra interventions because of the COVID loss. So when we look at that and align it with what we have planned for Jacquet Middle School, our plan already exceeds House Bill 4545. So we're going to take the time to get to know the community. We've started an advisory board for Jack A. Middle School. I've already spoken with several commissioners and educational foundations here in Fort Worth, because we want to make sure that they understand that we're going to take care of Jack A. Middle School the way it has always been taken care of. We're going to represent the community. We don't want to exclude anybody from what we're doing, and we want to make sure that we place those scholars first. Again, I will be at Jack A. Middle School along with an instructional specialist. We're adding reading interventionists to make sure our kids get reading, and those interventionists will give 100% of our kids reading intervention every day of the week. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure we increase those scholars' opportunity to achieve the goals that they want to achieve and be the person they want to become. Any questions? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. We do have one question in the chat for Mr. Larry Davis. Can you explain to residents and community members the importance of being registered as a vendor for your services and how that leads to being informed about opportunities, especially in the future with partnerships like this? This is for Mr. Davis.
If I'm not mistaken, I think as far as vendors and things go, we're still gonna, that service is still gonna be held on the Fort Worth ISD side. Okay.
Thank you. Before we move on, we want to recognize our board chair, Terry Attaway, for taking time out to join us on today. So thank you so much, Ms. Attaway. And we will now move forward to the neighborhood side. Amy Conway is standing in for Mr. Victor Turner, and she's going to give us an update, and then she will pass it on to the assistant police chief, and he will give us an update on a great program that is taking place here in Fort Worth.
Good afternoon. It's so good to be here with you. And I'm not really in Stop 6 now, but I had to stop earlier this week and get a picture of some of the new art, which is Professor John Yancey's public art that's going on in Rosedale Park. We'll talk a little bit about it later, but it's so beautiful. I think I might use it as my permanent background. So we want to talk a little bit about the neighborhood part of our Choice Neighborhood implementation plan. And the big piece that Neighborhood Services has been working on right now is developing the Critical Community Improvement Plan. And that draft plan was submitted to HUD on April 23rd. And right now we're kind of going back with HUD and answering some of their questions. But the Critical Community Improvements Plan has 3 elements. We are looking to use grant money to fund the white box and gray boxing of the first floor of Hughes House East. And what we mean by white boxing and gray boxing is building out the first floor retail spaces so that they are ready for tenants. And what we want to do is make sure that when we have Hughes House developed at the corner of Amanda and Rosedale, that we have active commercial spaces that are ready to be leased to tenants. That's a really big part of the neighborhood piece and making sure that we are providing services and that we have activated retail spaces in that neighborhood. So we're really excited about that. The second piece is a farmers market food truck canopy. We haven't decided on a location of it. It will either be next to the new community center we're looking to develop, or it will be near one of the commercial sites that we are redeveloping. That's still up in the air, but it's a canopy structure that will be both lit and electrified, and so food trucks can plug into it, farmers markets can occur and have cover. It will be a really nice activated community space for the neighborhood. And then finally, we're looking to expand and enhance our existing commercial facade improvement grant program to make sure we're addressing the very specific needs of the Stop 6 neighborhood and making sure that their commercial businesses are enhanced in any way that works best for them. So next slide. I'm not sure if I get to turn it, or you do. Okay, great. We're still working on our neighborhood hub. So as you know, we are looking to develop a new state-of-the-art community center for the neighborhood, and it will replace the existing beloved Martin Luther King Community Center. We haven't decided on a name yet, whether it will be Hub or just called Martin Luther King Community Center. So that's still under development right now. But right now we're looking at a 28,000 square foot gymnasium, fitness center facilities. We'll have a youth activity center, a senior center, community action partners, Envision Center will go there, a library, public safety and code offices, a commercial kitchen, and public meeting rooms. So it will be a larger community center than exists today, and it'll be state of the art. We're very excited about it. We're also planning an aquatic center directly adjacent to this new building. And as you can see in the screenshot below, it will be set on right across the street from Rosedale Park on the site of the old Campbell place. So the city right now is preparing for a bond election that will fund this particular development. So we're looking at perhaps asking the voters for $17.5 million for the new neighborhood hub and over $7 million for the aquatic center. And that will be in the May 22 bond election that you'll see next year. And we just want to point out that, you know, when we all put forward recommendations for bond projects this year, the city's wish list did exceed over $1 billion. But luckily, this particular project, both the new community center and the aquatic center have been moved through to staff recommendations to council. So we'll be watching this closely and making sure that, that we get this funded. So next slide. And then we definitely want to update on the public art installation that was recently, it's not done yet. It's still almost complete. And Kristen Sullivan and I were actually out at the same time on Monday morning taking photographs. And you can see one of the installers of this art project was on site. She allowed herself to be part of the photo, but it's this beautiful ceramic tile mosaic that was designed by John Yancey, who's a professor at the UT Austin College of Fine Arts, and it is so beautiful. If you haven't been to see it, you've got to see it up close. You've got to touch the tiles. It's just beautiful, and we're really excited that the Public Art Commission for the City of Fort Worth worked on this and is helping to offset the cost for that. So don't miss that. Next slide. And then I don't know if those of you remember back in 2017, 2018, Stop 6 was one of our first neighborhood improvement strategy areas. You were the first. So we've been working to get that project implemented, and we're actually pretty much done spending all the money that was allocated in 2017 and 2018 to Stop 6. However, through the CARES Act, the City of Fort Worth allocated an additional $5 million to extend and create public Wi-Fi in 5 of our neighborhood improvement strategy neighborhoods. That includes Stop 6, Ash Crescent, Northside, Rosemont, and Como. So those projects are underway right now. Contractors are in the neighborhood installing equipment on utility poles. They're installing equipment on top of public buildings. And the goal here is to get free Wi-Fi within the neighborhood for any resident within the neighborhood improvement strategy area. We've also partnered with Fort Worth ISD to add more public buildings to put these big poles on. And you should see a launch this summer. I can't commit to a date right now because there's been some issue with the contractors getting the right equipment, but we are very hopeful that by the start of the school year, that all of our neighborhoods will have access to this free Wi-Fi. And we're really hoping that it contributes really favorably to the development and mobility of residents in the community. Next slide. And then I wanted to turn it over to Assistant Chief Aldridge, who wants to talk about the new Fort Worth Safe campaign.
Thank you, Amy. I would like to thank everybody from the Stop 6 neighborhood that's on this call right now and all other staff members that put it together. It's an honor to be here to talk to you about this. Fort Worth itself is not immune to the rise in violent crime that we've seen across the country. It's not uncommon for us to run details throughout the summer because of our rising violent crime. But this year we decided to do something a little bit differently. We always focus on homicides, shootings, aggravated assaults, robberies. Those are the ones that victimize the citizens the most. But one thing that we decided to do this year that's a little bit different, it's an intelligent-led approach. It's a smart approach to crime. We have a lot of cameras around the city, surveillance cameras and flock cameras, and we decided that that was going to be our center point for how we target our offenders. And so with this technology, we're able to put information into our flock cameras for suspect vehicles, stolen vehicles, any type of violent crime offense that has a vehicle nexus to it. And when vehicles pass these cameras, they alert our real-time crime center, and we're able to get officers in the area to try and stop and arrest the offenders. We historically have done saturation details, and unfortunately, we've kind of been able to, we've looped innocent citizens in our saturation details whenever we pull people over. And it's some people that are just, going to work, going home, just trying to provide for their family. This year we decided we have the cameras. It's a great technology. It helps us out tremendously. So we might as well leverage that technology. So one important aspect that we decided to do that's a little bit different is the engagement component of this campaign. We have the MPOs going to community members, to apartment complexes, to businesses, wherever they can go. And we have Fort Worth Safe cards. And on the back of them, it has a QR code to a website that we are keeping updated each week with all of our activities and all of our success stories. That part of the website, you're allowed to go on and you can report to us any issues within your neighborhood that maybe we're not familiar with. But I would suggest everybody to go to the website to kind of check on Fort Worth Safe and see what we've done up to this point, because the campaign in and of itself has been going on since May 10th. On that website, you will also see the strategies that we're using. We thought it was extremely important that the community understand exactly what we're doing, why we're doing it. The hotspots that we identified was historical crime data that we've had. And for us, it's important that we use a smart approach on crime and work with the community and not against it. I mean, our job is to serve the community and try and make it a safe place for everybody to live and play and work. So I would encourage everybody, go to the website. It's updated every Wednesday or Thursday with the statistics, with pictures, and with a lot of information about the campaign itself. Thank you.
Chief, could you describe the website address again, and I'll type it in the chat?
Sure. It is police.fortworthpd.gov. Let me make sure that that's it.
And you could type it in later if you want.
Okay, I can do that.
Thank you.
All right. As we put that information into the chat box so everyone can have that. Well, we do have some upcoming events that we would like to share. Our families who are from Campbell have the opportunity to go to the zoo, Fort Worth Zoo actually it is this Friday, July the 9th from 11 to 5. And so we have a pretty good participation, people that said that they will participate with their families. So that is a great event that will take place. And so just stay on the lookout on our website of what's to come. Also, I'm excited to announce that Cowan Place, we will have a live in-person, cross our fingers, event, a groundbreaking for Cowan Place. And that date is to be determined, but it will take place August, hopefully late August or September when it's not as hot. So we will give details to come, and you can also make sure you get on our website to stay abreast on that information. And then our next community update meeting will be September 29th. It will be the same time, noon to 1 on a Wednesday. But we want to bring back the naming of the phase 5 and 6. Sorry. Phases 5 and 6. We want the community input on naming these phases. So we will have the link, we'll email the link out, but you can also find this Google form on we will email it out, but we'll also put it on our Facebook page. And so if you don't know our website, it is www.stop6, you're going to spell that out, CNI.org. I'll say that again. It is www.stop6cni.org. That's where you can find all of our information, but you can also email us at stop6cni@fwhs.org. And then please follow us on our social media channels, which you can find at Stop 6 CNI. Facebook is where we post a lot of our information, but Twitter and then LinkedIn. And so it is very important. We want your input on what should we name phases 5 and 6. And so it is a quick survey. We'll get that information and hopefully we'll have that information. And then when we come back in September, we'll be able to say, hey, these were the top 2 or top 3 names that we came up with, that you guys came up with, and that we will share moving forward. So again, thank you all so much for taking time out of your day. Yes.
One question from Jan Burks. She just asked that we remind everyone what phases 5 and 6 are of all of the housing developments.
So phases 5, those will be those are the last phases, housing development of this particular project. Whether it's workforce or so forth, workforce housing. Hopefully that answers.
So, Lachelle, we might just give them some context. So phase 5 is on Ramey, across from Eastover Park. And so it's about a 5-acre parcel that'll have 80 units-ish on it. And so it's for families. It's one of the smaller sites. And then, sorry, I don't have my video on. And then the phase 6 is at the corner of Miller and Rosedale. So the big lot that's behind the little filling station there will be a larger project with a little bit of mixed use available as well. So Lou, anything you want to add to that?
No, I was just about to. Thank you. Jump in there too, Mary Margaret. Yeah, that explains it very well. Those are the last 2 phases, probably in that order. So yeah, looking forward to your input on the naming.
So again, please join us in naming those 2 particular phases. And again, thank you all for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedule. And we will see you all soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.